Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, friend.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. As always, I am joined by my super spectacular co-host, Kate Sittars. Hello, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. It feels like it's been a while since we've sat down to
I know.
have a podcast discussion. And I'm actually very excited that in doing so, getting back together for a podcast discussion, we get the opportunity to talk to Sunny Zhang, who is a CCA student, certainly, but also a star copywriter. We have obviously insights into what's gone on in her story, and we're looking forward to her sharing that with all of you guys. So hello, Sunny.
Hi, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Hey, we're so excited to have you. The probably the easiest place to start, and I don't know why I stumble over this every single time, because we really kind of start in the same place. But how did you get into copywriting? What's your origin story, your superhero origin story?
Yeah, for sure. So I went to school for design, which is actually helps throughout as well. But I came out of school during the pandemic, actually. So I was sort of assessing out my options. I was working a remote job, just like not the most fulfilled. And since I had a lot of time and freedom, I was like, let me try freelancing. And I actually went into freelancing doing design work. And I think I just quickly found that it just really wasn't my thing. But while I was doing that, I was doing like web design work. And while I was doing that, a lot of clients were kind of asking me to write copy as well. And I was like, okay, yeah, like I can do that. I don't really have much experience, but like, yeah, like let me give it a shot. And I feel kind of bad for those people because I did not know how to write copy then. But um, while I was doing that, I was like, oh, this is really fun. I like this way more than doing design work. A lot of the design work felt just very tedious to me, I think, and the copy was just always really fun. And I didn't really know it was a thing that like people did as its own profession, but I guess as I started doing that, I found online resources. I was listening to podcasts, one of which was you guys's, obviously. But that's kind of how it all started. So I actually did start already working with some people, but just not really knowing what I was doing and like maybe not feeling the most confident and not even really knowing that it was like a possible career to get into on its own.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, how did you then migrate into the getting the training for copywriting once you decided, oh, this is something that I want to move forward with?
Yeah. I think once I decided to pivot, it was mostly through like podcasts like yours that I gained like more confidence, I think. Just listening to I think there was another one too, but I won't call out that one on your podcast.
Not nearly as
But
good. I'm sure they're spectacular. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I would just kind of listen to your podcast on my little walks. And I feel like I learned a lot through them. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this like more seriously, I should maybe just do some sort of like learning or training because I think I was just Googling stuff, which is fine. But I just wanted something more structured. And I think podcasts and like audio learning was a really great way to start. But then as I started trying to figure out how to like actually get more clients and how to talk about myself and how to talk about the work that I was writing, because I think before I was still kind of writing copy, but there was no rhyme or a reason behind the things that I was doing. Sometimes I was like, this sounds fine. And it did sound fine most of the time, but I found it really difficult to like talk about it and explain it. Um, yeah, so I think I was just kind of listening to some podcasts and then deciding that I needed something a bit more structured just to get started.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, once you joined the CCA and started to dig into learning, was there anything that that surprised you about copywriting that you hadn't realized previously or hadn't dug into yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's lots. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think a lot of the times I was maybe unsure about pitching, right? Like I felt kind of sleazy about pitching and I felt kind of weird about it. But I think you guys really taught really well to actually find a pain point that they can benefit from, or like a pain point that they had, and picking something that they can really benefit from, and then pitching and kind of just presenting it as like it actually is very beneficial for them. And I think that shifted my thinking like quite a lot to just like giving people unsolicited services versus actually, hey, like we're actually really helping them out a lot.
Exactly. Well, and even, in your experience, when you had the design clients that were saying, hey, can you write this copy for me? They were demonstrating that they had that need, right? That they needed,
Mhm.
they had a need that needed a solution. And because they didn't know how to find someone, because they trusted you as their designer, they thought, all right, well, maybe you can help me with this too. Clients, you gotta love them. But it further demonstrates that people, we are especially valuable when we solve that need for them. When instead of making them hunt and making them hire designers to write their copy, when we provide that easy and quality solution for them by showing up and offering value in their inbox. Yeah. Once you dug into learning and kind of solidified those skills that you had started to build and built your website, and how did your career, or how has your career progressed since then?
I think honestly, like ever since making the pivot, it went at a rate, and like taking the course, it just went at a rate that I wasn't quite expecting in a very positive way. I think when I was doing design work, it just like it felt like I was always hitting a wall, and just it was very difficult, I think, to find a way to sell myself and to find new client. I feel like maybe that market's a bit more saturated as well. I guess ever since I took the course, it was
Mhm.
2022. Um, so I think I bought the course maybe in like October, and then I definitely like started before getting through it just because I had already been freelancing a little bit, but I got the course in October, and I want to say like from January onwards, I was just like fully like I quit my serving job. It was just like a fully functional operation.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's
That's
amazing.
yeah,
That's,
that's
yeah, a
Yeah.
matter of what, 3 months basically.
Yeah, like 2, 3 months. Granted that I was doing some work
Mhm.
before, so I think freelancing wasn't completely new to me, but I definitely wasn't offering copy as a service before, and I feel like it gave me a lot of confidence very quickly to start doing what I can.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks.
curious when you first decided to go freelance, and I know that was with design, but I think a lot of people face that moment of like, oh, I really want to do this, but taking the plunge and actually doing it is another thing. So do you remember kind of what your thought process was, what some of the things you were going through, and what ultimately led you to say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try it, I'm gonna make it work?
Yeah, I think I was kinda lucky in that, like, it was kind of out of school, I didn't have a ton of responsibilities, so it definitely did make it a little bit easier, but I had basically moved to Vancouver, so I moved cities, and I just wanted to change everything, so I quit my job. I was working as, like, a UX designer before, and I was not making very much money either, so I think that was also a factor, like, when you're not making a ton of money, it's not that hard to just be like, "Okay, well, like, I'll probably make a similar amount of money doing anything else really." Um, yeah, I moved, and I feel like it was helpful to have like I served on the side as well. So a little bit of a backup while I tried to figure things out. Um, but yeah, I think it just came from like knowing that there's more opportunity, and that you could keep creating that opportunity for yourself versus working in a full-time job. And I work in a full-time job now, which is great. I love this job, but I think a lot of the times your full-time job can feel a little bit stagnant, and there's like not as much room for growth. Or sometimes you look at your growth path and you're like, oh, if I work here for 6 years, then maybe I'll get like a 10K raise. Um, and I guess with freelancing, it just felt like there was a lot more opportunity to work harder and to work smarter and to make more money.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously, as much as you feel comfortable sharing numbers, people are always curious about the numbers behind success stories. Can you give us a little bit of insight into some projects and how much you're bringing home, I guess?
In the beginning, I guess I was charging maybe like before the course, maybe like $25 an hour kind of thing. And that was the rate that I had in my head. And I was just starting as well. And I do believe in like charging what you are worth. And sometimes in the beginning, you're not worth that much. So that's okay. But then after the course, I feel like with there is like this added confidence. And then as you improve your skills, like I, there's projects that I've worked on that I've charged like $250 an hour. But yeah, there's definitely a range. I would say like my average rate is $100 an hour now. And that's
Mhm.
what I go into freelance projects charging as like the basis in my head for how much I should like price the project. But yeah, I would just say throughout, like it was, I would make like, I think the first year I maybe made like 70K full time, which
Okay.
is just how much you would make kind of at a regular job. I would say like as an average through most of the times that or maybe not, like there is no good average. I feel like there were definitely months where I just didn't make
Sure.
any money, even when things were going quite well. And then there were months that I would make like $20,000.
Looking back now, I'm curious if now that you have a little bit more experience, and when you think about those months where you didn't make anything, was there anything that you would do differently, or what do you attribute that to?
I think that, well, admittedly, I did not pitch the way you guys suggested in your teachings. So yeah, I probably pitch more.
Hmm.
Um, I found that for me, I was much more comfortable kind of like doing more like networky event things that
Hmm.
had a more like natural interaction. And then over time, maybe like they'll come back as a client. But I guess in those off months, I think I probably would just put more of an effort to pitch more because I think, um, yeah, I would maybe just kind of wait around for someone to reach out to me or like not, yeah, just not pitch as much as maybe I should have.
Hmm. Hmm.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm sure it'll be fine. And then you're like, oh, that was not fine.
Well, live and learn, right? Live and learn.
Yeah.
Although, 20,000 months is spread out on on the whole, you're doing all right.
Doing
Yeah,
just
yeah,
fine. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So I know you alluded to your now a full-time job. So I'm curious to know kind of what this opportunity is, what made you say, "Oh, okay, I want to go back to that full-time," and it sounds like a fantastic role. So whatever you can share, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really excited about it, and I feel like I can definitely contribute to just getting into copywriting. I also feel like just getting into copywriting helps with like literally everything and anything. Um, it's like a communication thing, right? The communication style that I just feel like through, you know, the rest of my career and even my like personal relationships that it's really helped with. But yeah, this job has been it's a strategy job, which I can
Hmm.
also like directly attribute to working as a copywriter, I think. But I've been freelancing for the last 3 years. And then like first year was good. Second year was like also pretty good. I was making good money, but then I found it really hard to like plan ahead. So I think I wanted a little bit of a break. I would love to go back to freelancing one day probably, but just wanted a little bit of a break. And I've never had any, for example, agency experience or like bigger company experience doing this. So I just wanted to see what else I could learn as well. I was applying pretty casually to agencies and then someone actually reached out to me on LinkedIn. I thought it was a scam because all the recruiters are kind of scammy, or it's always scammy when someone reaches out to you on LinkedIn
Yeah.
offering you an interview. But it was a real person and it was the CEO of the company that I work for now. They're called 500 Designs. They're like a small-ish, maybe like 100 people agency
Hmm.
from California. And then he kind of pitched this strategist role to me. So they're hiring for a strategist who is also kind of familiar with copy to maybe go back and forth with the copywriter role as well. But I think they're very like intrinsically linked too, right? Yeah, so he reached out to me about that, and I did kind of tell him, I was like, I don't have any like specific experience as a strategist, but I have done like XYZ while doing copy. And then he was like, I think you know more than you think you know, which is a crazy thing for someone to say to you in an interview. But I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, and then I started working there in May of this year. Yeah, it's been really great.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's always interesting because I think sometimes we get into freelance and we think, all right, this is it. I'm going to freelance. I want the freedom. I want this forever. And then sometimes the right job can come along and go, wait a minute. Actually, this is what I want to do. That's terrific. What is your kind of your daily? I mean, I know no day is exactly the same, but what kinds of things go into your day?
Well, it's not changed too much, I would say, from freelancing. It's a fully remote job. They're very flexible, which is really nice. And my days will consist of taking client meetings, so doing discovery calls with clients, which is like something that you do a lot in copy. So that was something that I was already pretty comfortable with. Just kind of asking the clients for more background, trying to understand their product. And then we do just like brand messaging, brand strategy work in the beginning. We'll do sort of market research, competitor research, all things that, again, I did doing copy as well. And then the copy aspect has really helped me with communicating all of this as well, right? So we'll put all of that down the deck, we'll present the deck, and then it moves into copy, and then it moves into design. So it's like really nice to kind of see the whole process in play. And it's really great kind of just being able to think about all the other steps, having a bit of experience in it.
That's terrific. Yeah. Now, as you think back on your journey, I hate using that word, but sometimes it's applicable. It sounds very, Bachelor Nation. But as you think back on it, because you have had so many different experiences, and you know that a lot of people who are listening to the podcast are just getting started in their copywriting career, is there anything that you would share with them, or any pieces of advice, or any perspective that you could offer?
I would say just like to get started, right, as soon as you can, because some of the things you can only learn in a project, right, or by working with people. So I think the sooner you just get started and not think too much about like, have I finished every single thing? Like, have I checked every single mental box? Do I know everything there is to know? That can really hold you back, I think. And if you just get started, like, I think now I'm a lot more comfortable with saying I don't know in a client meeting, which I just like wasn't before, right? Because I'm like, oh, I have to know everything. I'm the expert. They're paying me all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really know. Like, you can use the basics that you've learned in the course or just like as a concept. And then you can just apply that concept to whatever problem you're trying to solve. And it doesn't have to be like exactly this is the right thing to do or that's the wrong thing to do. Yeah, I think like the biggest thing that I learned like in your course and just like in copywriting in general is just to think about the other person that you're speaking to as much as you can. Um, and I feel like filtered through that lens, you can solve a lot of problems.
I love that.
I agree. Yeah. Very, very wise.
Oh, and like I guess I'll just say the Facebook group was really helpful as well in the beginning.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I'm so glad.
just like it was really fun kind of connecting with people and just like seeing what other people are doing. Um, and yeah, just like having a little community that's really nice. I would recommend it.
Well, thank you. Yes, we do have a really amazing community, don't we? Just fantastic people.
Good people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for being part of that community as well.
I'm curious, and I know you haven't been in this role super long, but Do you have any thoughts on, you went from design and did copywriting and found copywriting, but copywriting opened the door to a strategy role. So does that shift kind of your thinking of like opportunities and things you might want to do in the future?
Yeah. I don't have anything specific right now, but I think the whole process just has been really exciting because it just started with one thing and then it turned into so many other things. And I just feel like it's opened, like a ton of doors that it felt very like stuck / linear before.
Mhm.
And then now it's just kind of like, through the lens of being a better communicator, you can really just do so many different roles. Um, I don't know. I've been really enjoying working as in a strategy role. I feel like in the future, it would be really nice to like start a little agency or just do something for myself again. I feel like it opens the door to so many different options of roles that you can do.
What a cool feeling. Yeah. I don't want to rush you out of
Yeah.
enjoy the
Yeah, really.
present. I didn't mean to. But yeah.
Yeah, I know it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. And it was really exciting, I think, in the beginning for me as well, that like you could know nothing about something. Cause I feel like since I just got out of school, work felt very linear, right? Like
Yeah.
you go to school, you have to, I studied this thing for so long and it just wasn't what I wanted to do in the end, really. And I felt, I was like, oh no, like I just did this for 4 years. Like, am I going to have to do something else for 4 years to get into something else? Like I felt very pigeonholed, but it was very exciting that I was like, oh, I could just like listen to some podcasts and then like take a course, and then just randomly start a whole new career in like less than 6 months.
Pretty exciting. Pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But also good for you for taking those steps. If I were you, I would be proud of myself for
Thank you.
taking that action. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's so easy. Yeah. I think to your point, you just spent 4 years. It's so easy with that sunken cost to be like, well, now this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life because I invested time and money in it. And it's like, no, we have such a long life. Like life is short, but it's also really long. Like,
Yeah. And you can like, I don't know, I guess you can just like become an expert in like you can just 4 years is such a long time. And like I don't know, I guess I've only been doing this for like 3 years at this point. And it's really exciting to be like, oh, what else can I do
yeah.
in 4 years?
Anything.
Anything.
amazing.
Not actually, but
Well, almost anything. Anything you want to do, maybe we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, now I know that you are super happy in your full-time job, but if someone is listening and they're like, oh my gosh, Sunny is amazing. I want to see if I can get her to work on my project. Where can people find you?
I do still take on freelance clients sometimes.
Okay.
So you can find me at my website at soulcopy.ca.
Excellent.
Yeah,
And
we
we
will
will,
link.
as
A
always, put the
shameless
link in the show
self-promo.
notes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Yes. No.
we requested it. Yes.
No.
It's not self-promo when we tell you to promote yourself. Yes.
We want to toot your horn for you so
Yeah,
you don't have to do it
exactly.
for yourself.
Let us do it.
That's what
You're
we're here
amazing.
for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, she's amazing. Sunny, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and certainly sharing your time as well. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for creating this course. It really changed a lot of things for me. So I'm super stoked to be here. And thank you guys so much.
Goodness. Thank you.
We'll have to follow up when you start your agency, whenever that might be.
Yeah.
Or when you
well,
take on another role that's completely different. We'll do a follow-up.
Yeah, when you take over the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
So stay tuned for that follow-up, maybe a couple years, although at this rate, it could be just another 6 months. She moves fast, everyone. And with that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye, everybody.